سيدة أليكساندر، بشكرك على وجودك معنا. خلينا نبدأ بالسؤال، ما هو وضع المعونة الأمريكية الاقتصادية في مصر الآن؟
We have had very active programs. Our assistance program has been active for over 30 years in Egypt, and it actually is one of the most substantial, longest running programs that we've had and commitments anywhere in the world. So we have a very active program in health and education and tourism and in economic growth.
ما هو المبلغ السنوي المخصص لمصر الآن كمعونة اقتصادية، وكم يبقى في البايبلاين أو يعني يبقى متأخرات لم تنفق؟
The pipeline actually is quite large right now, given that we've had 5 years of upheaval. I think there have been substantial delays and at times impediments that we have gone through together over the last 5 years. So right now we have about $700 million in the pipeline, and we are anxious to help work with the government of Egypt to move these programs along.
$700 مليون، هذا رقم كبير جدا. ليه ما تمش انفاقه حتى هذه اللحظة؟ ليه متأخر في البايبلاين؟
There are a number of reasons. Again, 5 years of upheaval have caused some problems, and we've had to have starts and stops with the program. I think one of the larger issues are education and technical assistance. It's about 89% of the programs are in that area, and those don't move as quickly as infrastructure. And we've recently had some concerns over trying to get implementers registered, and that has caused additional delays.
هل المعوقات من مصر أم من هيئة المعونة الأمريكية؟
The impediments right now, the registration process is something that we are working through. We've always had a mutually agreed bilateral set of programs with the government of Egypt, primarily in the education area. That is one that we're currently working through because our registration process has been always, once we agree to these programs with the government, the implementer is moving forward and working on them.
ماذا تقصدين بالتسجيل؟ إيه هي قضية التسجيل؟
Right now, we run our programs through direct grants as well as through the bilateral agreements. So we have over 8 bilateral agreements with the government of Egypt, with different ministries, and with the Ministry of International Cooperation. When we signed those bilateral agreements previously, over the past 30-year history, they have always been implemented by assistance providers who we've worked with and chosen, in many cases, with the government of Egypt. Currently, there now seems to be a different process, and we are trying to work to find out what that process is so we can make sure that these programs run smoothly.
أي تقصدي تسجيل الجمعيات الأهلية في مصر.
And of individual projects. Often if the group is active, they've been questioned on project-to-project basis. So
كم بالضبط يعني مخصص لمصر سنويا الآن في المعونة الأمريكية الاقتصادية؟
Sure. So our annual allocation is $150 million a year, and that is something that we work collectively with Congress, and those are the programs that we do through bilateral agreements as well as through direct grants. We also have the Egypt American Enterprise Fund, which is a separate entity that Congress has approved for us to work with.
هناك خلاف في وجهات النظر الآن بين الحكومة المصرية وبين ال USAID أو هيئة المعونة الأمريكية. لماذا هذا الخلاف الآن؟
Right. I think that there's been a change in the discussion. We've worked, for example, in education. We began with the early grade reading program, working with our implementers that pilot this in 100 schools. And then the ministry stepped in and said, this is such a wonderful program. We've had an 80% increase in first grade learning in their ability to read. And so the government of Egypt expanded that to 16,000 schools. We're interested in continuing that program, and we mutually made an agreement with the government that we would continue the program. But now there seems to be a different registration process for the implementer to continue that. And so these are the conversations we're having. I think you know our Secretary of State will be in Egypt.
أظن أن هناك قانون جديد أو مشروع قانون جديد مقدم للجمعيات الأهلية سيعرض على البرلمان، وهذا القانون يطلب تسجيل الجمعيات الأهلية كما هو الوضع في العالم كله. هذه الجمعيات كانت تعمل بدون تسجيل في السابق، بموجب هذا القانون لابد من تسجيل هذه الجمعية.
So this is not Law 84. You're talking about the new law. No, I mean I think we have seen over the past 4 years. I've actually seen a number of different drafts of the law. So I don't know what the current draft is. But again, because our bilateral agreements had always existed, when we signed the money together, the assumption had always been, and the practice had always been, that anyone who runs those programs have had a previous agreement that this is something that we are working with the line ministries on. So if this new law does pass through Parliament and if it goes into effect, that's a conversation we look forward to having with the Ministry of Social Solidarity and the Minister of International Cooperation. Right now, I think that law might still be pending, and again, I've only read a number of different drafts. I haven't seen it, so we expect that conversation to happen when the law gets passed, but it seems to be happening now, and we're just not aware. It's an opaque process, so we're not sure how to move forward.
ما هي مشروعات المعونة الأمريكية الآن في مصر؟
We have a number of projects. We have agriculture programs, we have tourism projects. We're working on culturally significant tourist sites to make sure that we lower the water table, to make sure that they are still places that people want to come and see. The health programs that we are working on. We've eradicated polio over the time that we've worked with the Egyptians to eradicate polio over the time that we've been there, and we'd like to continue some of these health projects.
ومتى ستبدأون يعني سداد المتأخرات أو صرف المتأخرات 700 مليون دولار؟
We're in the process. I mean, this is what we're trying to get agreement on right now. These are in the process. They've been in the process, and so when we hit roadblocks, that's when we try to have these conversations to make sure that we understand what the concerns are, because right now it's not clear to us.
البعض في مصر قلق من أن هيئة المعونة الأمريكية كانت تقدم يعني دعم أو تمويل لعدد من الجمعيات الأهلية لأهداف الديمقراطية بدون إذن ومعرفة الحكومة المصرية.
Right. Well, again, out of this 700 million, 500 million of it is currently in bilateral assistance agreements. So the part that is otherwise spoken for the Egyptian American Enterprise Fund or these direct grants that work on governance issues, especially in the area of gender-based violence, of anti-trafficking, those are things that we work in coordination with the government when we set those programs up. So those do not go directly through the government, but we work in coordination to make sure we're hitting on the main points that are of interest to the government.
طبعا تعرفين تصريح عن باترسون السفيرة الأمريكية السابقة في مصر الشهير جدا عن الملايين الدولارات أو مئات الملايين من الدولارات التي قدمت لعدد من الجمعيات الأهلية تحت بند الديمقراطية وتعليم الديمقراطية في مصر.
Well, I think that the pipeline that we're talking about now and whatever Assistant Secretary Patterson said when she was ambassador in Egypt is different than what we have right now. We have worked very collaboratively over the past 3 years, or I'd say 2.5 years, under Ambassador Beecroft as well, to make sure that our programs are very specifically aligned to government interests.
المعونة الأمريكية كانت دائما تعمل في موضوع البنية التحتية يعني، والحقيقة كان لها دور مهم في بنية التليكوميونيكيشنز في مصر في أوائل حكم مبارك. لماذا لا تعودون للعمل في البنية الأساسية؟
Well, part of the negotiations we've had with the government of Egypt is they're interested in early grade reading and primary learning and scholarship programs and other programs in the area of education. So we have tied our bilateral agreements directly to what the line ministries have told us they would like to do. So we've already spent, again, over 30 years, the water and sanitation, the telecommunication. These are areas that infrastructure-wise we've worked on. And so now we're trying to do what primarily is USAID's main goal, which is to help develop a healthy society. And so that's why we've been, listening to what our interlocutors say, and we thought it was health, education, agriculture, livelihoods. There's an economic growth issue in Egypt, especially in Upper Egypt, where we've really followed very closely with the ministry what they would like us to do. We were talking about the American Chamber of Commerce in Egypt. I was just meeting with them, and one of the businesses said that it has been amazing what they've been able to do with education on pesticides, with increasing the value chain, so small farmers have a larger market to move to. And that has created, just in the last 4 years, we've created over 40,000 jobs. I think that's really what Egypt is, what would help to make it developmentally and economically a stronger society.
إذا كانت هذه هي يعني المشروعات للمعونة في مصر. ليه الانطباع الشعبي عن المعونة الأمريكية أنها معونة مسيسة وأنها معونة بشروط وأنها معونة مرتبطة بإصلاحات ديمقراطية معينة؟
It's hard to tell. That's why I think media and independent media is such an important part of us getting our story out. We have, hundreds of thousands of Facebook friends. We try to push the story out so people understand. Whenever I've been in Egypt, the crowds and the throngs and the ministry officials that come to our ribbon cutting and to our different events tells me that AID is well respected and people oversubscribe to our scholarship programs and to our other programs. So I'm not quite sure where the disconnect is. We are not as good at social media, I guess, as we should be.
ربما لأن هذه المعونة دائما كانت مرتبطة بشروط، يعني لكي تمر من الكونغرس كان لابد فيها مشروطية بإصلاحات سياسية معينة.
We don't have conditions precedent when we work with assistance funds. We projectize the funds as we see necessary in terms of development need in each country. We have done this worldwide. We work in over 80 countries. So in certain places we have government-to-government agreements, much like we have in Egypt, and in other places we do direct grants in trying to make sure that we bring free and fair elections, that we make sure we address hepatitis C, whatever the development needs are to make a society stronger. And that's what we work on. So I'm not, there are no terms that are really set except for what is asked of us.
ما هي خطواتكم القادمة في مصر؟
Our next step is to try to move this pipeline. It's very important to us that we get agreement with all the government bodies that seem to have an interest in these programs to make sure we can move it forward, because I've got Congress asking me a number of questions about the pipeline, and I think there are legitimate questions. This is U.S. taxpayer dollars. It's U.S. assistance funds, and we have needs in Syria and elsewhere in the world. And so we need to make sure that we draw down this pipeline and get these programs moving.
وماذا تتوقعون أو تطلبون من الحكومة المصرية؟
Registration of NGOs that have applied for registration, agreement that our bilateral assistance agreements are binding and mutually negotiated previously will be adhered to. These are the things that we need.
أشكرك شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you.